Hi, welcome to another session. So far, we are dealing with Unit 3, and that is the basis of human behavior. In the last session, we dealt with the introduction of this chapter, and we'll proceed forward with this session. And today's topic is biological and cultural roots. As we have discussed with the evolution takes place in two ways, that is biological and cultural. There may be some other causes also, but the main paths or the factors are defined in two ways only, that is biological way and cultural way. And if we can recall, we have been dealing psychology in two directions, that is natural direction and scientific direction. In that way, even the evolution, the natural process is biological and cultural is social. As we also know, the internal behavior and the external behavior, the internal functioning can be understood through biological roots, and the external functioning can be understood by the cultural roots. And evolution we have understood as a naturalistic process and nurturing process, and in that like how the human have developed so far in the billions of years, millions of years, how he developed, like the changes, the structural changes, the thinking changes, how his way of dealing with life has changed. All these factors will come into the consideration of biological and cultural roots. If we can divide them, there are several factors can be involved in this evolution. Like as I said, there are 190, more than 190 types of species, and human being is the most evolved species of such type, Homo sapien, and and he developed his capabilities, abilities in dealing with his or her brain and communicate with other living beings. That communication is the basis of cultural root. And if we can proceed with the chapter, we will understand what are all the important things in consideration of biological and cultural roots. So an important determinant of our behavior is biological structure. Biological structure. It can be understood as a human structure that we have inherited. Yes, the parents say X and Y. The, the reproductive process will give rise to an offspring. In the both brain and body. The importance of such biological basis becomes obvious when we observe cases in which brain cells have been destroyed by any disease. So in this chapter we will deal with the structure of brain. Simply you can put it in such way, and a leaf will be there. Let me see. simply we can say it as a brain. Okay, and the structure of brain, how it developed. If you can recall the earlier session, we have compared with the bird, animal, shark to human brain. Human brain, as I said, as we discussed, will be the most developed area. That's particularly cerebrum, the medulla oblongata, or and the cerebellum are the other parts which we have to consider in learning the brain, structure of the brain, and how the body, the connection between body and brain, how physical body communicates with brain, how it communicates, everything will be discussed in this chapter. And we are discussing only about the individual construction, appearance, behavior, characteristics. All these things are biological. We This is the one part we are dealing. And how a human being develops when a like a physical male and a female, uh, these two people, say X and Y, uh, reproduct each other, so the new life comes into picture. So the gestation period, or the period for the development of human being, is 9 months, as we know. All the structure is developed in a process, and particularly brain development, the physical structure is delivered, and but the development takes place over the life. It's a lifelong process. Okay, so what are the cells? That cells are called neurons. Mainly neurons play a role. Uh, a typical structure of neuron will be like this, and neuron will be like this, and we will see in detail about that in the coming sessions. So what can be the cause of this damage? The brain, when the brain get damaged either physically or mentally by accident, or any use of drugs, or any disease like fever, yeah, brain fever, or uh, the cell damage. The cell damage can lead to dysfunction of the brain, dysfunction of brain, and automatically the behavior collapses. So such, and even if we can see, the the physical disability also plays an important role in brain development. When the living being is immobile, the learning is also very less. Behavioral disabilities, there can be, these are the social aspects. The physical disability can lead to behavioral disability because the functioning, the functioning which is like physical or related to body, when there are limitations, the behavior is also limited. For example, say a human being with no limbs, he has no limbs. So that particular functioning is disabled. If if a human being has only hands but immobile, is sitting in a chair, wheelchair, So there is some dysfunction. So there is a behavioral disability which also linked to physical disability. These two are related to each other. Many children develop mental retardations and other abnormal symptoms due to transmission of a faulty gene. Yes, in the evolution, particularly biologically, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes from parental and that is male and female organism. Male is Y and female is X. When they in the process of reproduction, it 23 pairs from X and 23 pairs from Y will come, and these will be 46 genes will be for the new life. If any such one gene, one pair, 22 pairs will be common, and one pair, that is XX or XY. XX will lead to female, XY will lead to male. In that, uh, is there is like any one gene is extra unpaired. An unpaired gene can lead to uh, there can be abnormal development or loss of or dysfunctioning of human being. So even these days, particularly gene modification is one such technology a human being has achieved. Like how many pairs of genes are growing in the fetus or the womb of the female, particularly the mother who can give the life, and they can modify them for the better offspring. Yesterday we discussed with the horse breeding. In the horse breeding, they will select the finest and the fittest in the form of both biological and behavioral. They will take their genes and give it to the new breed. They develop a new breed, and that is also happening in human beings also. But that should be ethical, and it should be based on a need basis. Okay, then maybe in future the technology can also be like 3D printing, which we are using today. The disabilities can also be the physical disability can overcome with 3D printing technology. So all these things are related to biological information. This is all biological physical constructions we are talking about of the human structure. And so far we dealt with the biological way, and let us see the cultural. Why we are discussing the cultural factors. So when the baby develops and given birth, the biological functioning starts okay. But what is the point of cultural factor or cultural roots in human behavior? Is it a real need? Let us see. As human beings, we not only share a biological system but also certain cultural system, that is social system. Man is Human beings particularly live in colonies. Like in a place, they live in a colony. If we can make it as a world, people will live in separate places where the river flows uh, and hilly areas where the resources they they farm land they farm land, and they live in a colonies where where they distribute themselves and live in such a way. So there is a distance, there can be different factors like language, living conditions, when where the water is available, water, natural resources, minerals, all these things are available, the culture is different. You can see the Western culture where it is mostly developed in technologically, and Eastern it is more biological and spiritual. Okay, so these type of differences are called cultural differences. The behavior also, the Western behavior is different from the Eastern behavior. The dressing style, the way they talk, they behave is completely different when compared to the East and West. But why? Why this has happened? These systems are quite varied across human populations. All of us negotiate our lives with the culture in which we are born and brought up. Yes, a person born in India is different from the person born in China or America or England. Culture provides us with different experiences. Yes, the environment, the people around us, situations are placing different demands on our lives. For example, Indian people are more physical work oriented. Western oriented people are mostly depends on technology. The place, India and United States has made the lifestyle different. So you are getting the point, right? Such experiences, opportunities, and demands also influence our behavior considerably. These influences become more potent and visible as we move from infancy to the later years of life. So, if we can say the child life in India or US is same, but the working culture and particularly family social cultures different. The growth of a human being in another country and India are different. How it is? Because India is the most populated country, US is less populated country. US is technically advanced and India is concentration is an individual part. And India is the most consumed country, consumables more the other world countries are focusing on India over the consumption. They are creating and Indians are consuming. The imports, exports. The more the population, it is the imports. Okay, so these are all the factors which are defining the development of individual or the human being in particular region. And the color, race, body structure, all these things are biological. And the social factors like behavior, how we behave in India is different from US. These are the cultural differences, language, uh, ethnicity, dressing sense. All these are cultural differences. So such experiences, opportunities, demands also flow visible as we move from infancy to later years. The lifespan in US, Japan is high, but in India, it is the medical advancements are still developing, and even India is a developing country. It is dependent on most other countries. The life expectancy is around 60 or 68, but in the other countries it is above 70 or 80 or 90. So what are all these differences? This is based on both biological and cultural. Cultural can also be environmental. The living conditions, what are so besides biological basis, there are cultural basis of behavior also. That is what, even though the human being has been given a birth, this can be called as nature versus nurture. We will be seeing in next chapters if we have this concept. Nurture is a growing concept. Nature is a giving concept, that is the birth, during the birth or the natural process. So all these things will be discussed in detail in the coming chapters. Particularly, the biological construction is very important. In which way the person is born, in which way the person is grown, what are the conditions around him. All these form the basis of behavior. All these factors will be influencing both physical and psychological factors. So let us see in the coming chapters in details about these things. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.